Cuéntanos sobre la historia de cómo y cuándo supiste que tienes leucemia.
Okay. Era un 28 de octubre.
It was the 28th of October 2013, and I had been finding some bruises on my body for the last several weeks, mostly on my legs and elbows. My palate had inflamed significantly, and I had also had some issues with my one eye. I decided to go to the Medi Center so that the doctor could take a look. He told me that I simply had an infection, nothing significant, and gave me some antibiotics. I thought the issue with my palate was a dental issue, so I went to the dentist, and he said, no, this is not a dental problem. The following Monday, a week later, after continuing to have issues, I said, no, I need to go to the Medi Center again. I asked them again what was happening in my body. That day, the doctor gave the order to take some blood. At 10:30 p.m. that night, the doctor called me and told me that the blood test was indicating that I had leukemia and I needed to go immediately to the University of Alberta Hospital.
Y en el recorrido que íbamos para el hospital, mi hijo llamó.
While driving to the hospital, my youngest son, Nicholas, who had heard about my test results from his father, called from where he was studying at the U of A. He told me that we needed to pick him up on our way because he was sure there had been a mistake. This cannot be right, Dad, he said. So we went to pick him up on the way. I was very quiet. The whole time I really had nothing to say. We arrived at the hospital and they were waiting for me. The doctor from the Medi Center had contacted a doctor at the University of Alberta, so they were ready for me. Nicholas immediately started to tell the doctor that there was a mistake, but the doctor was quite firm. No, the symptoms that your mom has, as well as the indications from the blood test, are leukemia. But regardless, we are going to take some more tests to confirm the diagnosis. At that moment, they told me that I would be staying at the hospital and they needed to start to do more tests to confirm the diagnosis. It was very difficult, not easy. Upon hearing this, my youngest son, who does not regularly attend church or profess to be a Christian, hugged me and started to question and cry out, "Why you, Mummy? You believe in God. You go to church. You do not do anything bad to anyone. You are a good worker, and you are a great mother. How could it be you?" I responded to him saying, "We cannot put conditions on God. If it is me, it is me. We are going to be together. We are going to fight this together. We are going to accept what God has allowed to happen and let him do his will." But he continued to ask, "Why you, Mom? Why?" I told him, this is the way things are. We need to accept them and we need to be strong. God does everything for a reason, and I was the one chosen for this. It is me.
Stella, sobre la batalla con la enfermedad. ¿Cuánto tiempo pasaste en el hospital? ¿Recibiste quimioterapia? ¿Varias otras medicinas? Cuéntanos un poquito sobre esto.
When they put me in the hospital that day, they immediately gave me chemotherapy, the first session of 7. They told me that I had acute myelogenous leukemia, AML, and the doctors later told us it was so severe that they thought I had 2 months to live. I asked my family here not to tell anyone in my extended family back in Colombia about my disease, including my mother who had had a stroke a year before, as I did not want them to worry about me. My family is so important to me, and I was worried for them. However, it is not always about what we want, but what God wants. Later, they would need to do a study to see if anyone was compatible for a bone marrow cell transplant. The most likely candidates were my siblings. As a result, I had to tell my family, which was so very difficult. After the study, my older brother William from Colombia was selected as a potential donor for the bone marrow cell transplant. Throughout the month of November, they continued to do chemotherapy on me. My defenses were knocked down completely. It was so hard. Fever. I had a fever that was awful. Constant diarrhea. Horrible. Weakness. I could not do anything. My hair started to fall out. I would wake up with so much hair on my pillow. I used to have hair down to here, but it all just started to fall out. They asked if they could just cut all my hair off. Finally, I said sure, and they shaved all my hair off. It was so difficult. Though it was awful, I had to overcome everything that was happening, always together with my son. He had stopped studying so he could be with me during this time. Eventually, they had to transfer me to Calgary, and I spent 23 straight days in the hospital. It was so lonely, so difficult. Finally, they brought William up from Colombia and did the bone marrow cell transplant. The pastors and many members from the Spanish church, many workmates came and visited me. Many people would come and they would not recognize me, and they cried. I would tell them, please do not cry, just pray to our God. My pastors gave me a lot of strength. They prayed for me, interceded for me, and supported me. They would remind me that the church was praying for me.
Y ahora cuéntanos, Stella, de las buenas noticias de su salud hoy en día.
It is wonderful what God has done in my life, in my body. There was a while when I came to church with gloves on because my hands were so thin and the skin was so weak that they were covered with cuts. The pastors would continue to pray for me. Everyone would pray for me. More than anyone, they can understand the amazing things that God did in my body. I have hair again. My skin has improved. I am stronger. For a long time, I did not have the strength to even hold or open a bottle. Now I can eat better, swallow better, and now I am good, for the glory of God. After I had finished my treatments in the spring of 2014, my doctor told me, "You are now clean, Stella. You need to go to control sessions. We will continue to do follow-up. Your body is going to go through some changes, but you are now clean." The sessions are at the Cross Cancer Institute. It used to be every 2 weeks. Now every 2 months. Perhaps it'll soon be every 6 months.
Ah, muy bien, muy bien. Ahora tu hijo te preguntó antes, ¿por qué tú, mamá? Ahora la opuesta pregunta es, ¿por qué tú?
Perhaps I am the strongest out of my family. Several members of my family, here and in Colombia, told me, "Stella, I would not have been able to get through that. God selected you because you were the strongest, the bravest." I do not really know why, but God had a plan when He chose to allow me to go through this. This battle with leukemia has really impacted my life. My family is more united now. My sons are much more involved in my life and aware of me. The shock of all that I went through has really impacted many people that know me. It has been a great testimony for them to see the great and wonderful things that God has done in my life. Many of them want to know more or have come to church. They say, and I agree, it is truly incredible, the wonders of God, and of that there is no doubt.
Evangel, though you may not get to meet everybody that's in the Spanish group, and though you may not speak the same language as everybody who's in the Spanish group, there's some neat things happening in that group in our church. And thank you for listening with us today as we got to explore and hear about the miracles that God has done with Stella. I hope that the story that you've heard this morning will help build your faith and give you enthusiasm and excitement for the big and amazing things that God can do in our life.